Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show, the ARI podcast, where you get all your adventure racing up to date information. On this episode, I'm joined by Ollie from Elite Events and Quest Adventure Racing. We dive into his journey from an athlete to a race director, some unforgettable race day moments, the challenge of juggling both roles, and where he sees the sport heading. It's a great chat full of insights, stories, and a passion for endurance racing. Let's get into it. Hi, Ali. Thanks very much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. How is everything with you?
All is good, Lorraine. Thanks for having me. Delighted to be on having a chat with you.
Great. I'm looking forward to maybe kind of touching around your own personal racing history, insights to a racing director, because you've been directing for well over 10 years now. And I suppose where we see adventure racing going for the Quest team in the future. And I suppose any innovations that are kind of coming up in the future as well. So I suppose if we kind of kick off, Ali, with your own racing background, can you tell us a little bit about your experience? And also, you've participated in the team events as well over the recent years. But how did it all kick off for you?
I suppose I was going through the questions there earlier on. I was looking at it, and yeah, I don't actually do much racing because I'm too busy organising events to go racing. So, excuse me. Yeah, it's gonna if I go off every weekend doing a race, my wife and kids will be very annoyed at me because we're away so much with weekends with events. Yeah, I kind of try not to do a whole lot. So, yeah, it all kicked off for us. Oh God, maybe 15 years ago, and we were doing Gale Force. We just decided to do Gale Force up in Westport, and what you call it, that kind of got us the bug for it. And we kind of looked at it and we went, "Geez, Gale Force is a great event. We could do one of these events down in Clarny," and that's where we kind of started with it. And then since then, I've been kind of, trying to balance work, starting a business in terms of from elite event management, small kids, they're getting a bit bigger now, so it's a lot easier. And trying to do a few bits and pieces. So yeah, we do a few event races. I kind of try to pick one maybe big cycle every year to do and kind of aim towards that. But in terms of doing an event every couple of weeks and going on the circuit and stuff like that, I don't do too much of that because yeah, I just don't have the time, to be honest with you, to be going away. Because when we go away for an event for the weekend, we're gone from like Wednesday to Tuesday kind of thing. You're only gone for a week,
Yeah.
for an event. So if I say I'm going away off next weekend to do an event race or do a cycle somewhere, I'll be like, yeah, I need to be at home with the family.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine it's very difficult, all right, especially when you're weighing up your own events and then trying to get out and obviously training as well is going to be difficult, I suppose, in terms of work life and family balance for you to get out training to compete in the events as well. Ali, must be hard enough.
Yeah, it is. What you call it? We do kind of like from a training perspective, from what I try and do is to the events themselves are really physical. Like we have to do all the routes, we have to do all the cycles, we're horsing up and down the mountains with signs and all kinds of stuff. So it's actually fairly physical in terms of the work that we do. So that kind of keeps you fit enough with it. But yeah, it can be hard. But like I suppose everyone's in the same boat. Everyone works and everyone has all the commitments, and it's trying to balance it all is a problem that everyone has. And it's just something we try to get out of. The turbo trainer setup is a a lifesaver for me, to be honest with you, to get out on the bike, and yeah, we do. I said I try to do one big cycle event every year. So the last couple of years we did a couple of big cycle events in France. We did the Le Tap the last couple of years and the Marmot, and we do, like I say, this year we had to organize a 6 day cycle tour around Ireland for the Lions rugby charity. So we
Oh,
were
wow.
cycling around Ireland for 6 days, 170k a day. So what you call it, yeah, the kind of that'll keep you fit when you're cycling around like that.
Absolutely.
But in terms of yeah, trying to get out doing more of the ARI races, the I'd say the team races are brilliant. I did a few of those over the last couple of years and really, really enjoyed those. So hopefully, I always try to say I'll try to find more time.
Yeah, no, and it was great to see you participate in the team events, because obviously as a race director, as you say, you're busy, you don't get much time, and it was great to see you out in the course with the gang and finding your way around navigating. So it was really
Getting
good to
lost,
see.
right? Getting lost most of the
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it, Ali. um, I suppose this one is probably a bit of a difficult question because um, a memorable moment in a race. So I suppose that could be either a race that you've organized yourself or a race you've participated in. But is there anything that kind of stands out to you on any of the races that you've done over the years that has been a real memorable moment, kind of a real high, happy moment that you've either conquered in the race or you saw a race go really well?
Um, I suppose we're kind of lucky in a way that we put on these events for people to get lots of enjoyment, and that gives us a real kick. That we put a route together or a course together or an event together, and we see loads of people doing the events, thousands of people doing the events, and really getting a kick from it, and really, really enjoying it. And that's kind of the enjoyment I get out of it, is that you're putting on this route, and it's really, really hard. People are doing it, they're cursing you afterwards. But that's where I get my kind of real enjoyment from, is kind of putting on it and being able to give people a purpose with regards to, training and building towards an event. And that's where I get my kicks from, really.
Yeah.
It really, really enjoyed that. That would be the highlight over the years for me. Is I remember one year after Killarney, this lady came up to me and she said, "Thanks a million." And I was like, What's wrong?" And she was like, "Yeah, my husband did your event." And I was like, "All right, yeah, that's right, great, no problem." And he was like, about 6 months ago, he was in a bad place and he wasn't training and he was overweight and he had mental health problems. And he decided to set a goal to do Quest Killarney, and he spent the last 6 weeks, and he's a new man now, she said.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
doing things like that is that's where I get satisfaction from. And then other bits and pieces we get satisfaction from. Like we do a lot of charity cycle events. So we'd organise. There's one event we do it for MMI, Multiple Myeloma Ireland. We do it every couple of years for them, and we have it's like a 2-day cycle tour around Ireland, different parts, and we've loads of people that have cancer doing the cycle, and their families and different stuff, and it really means a lot to them. Really means a lot to them. So that's where I get the real highlights from. And we still see people doing our events today that have done these charity cycles with us, and they come back to us and say, "How are we getting on?" It's like, "Oh, cancer's in remission," or because of the money we raised during the event, I was able to get this treatment or that treatment. And it kind of really makes it worthwhile for us. And that cycle event we did during the summer with the Lions for motor neuron disease in Ireland, it basically went to all the different rugby clubs around Ireland, and we landed up in Ballymena Rugby Club, and there's a guy there with motor neuron disease, and he was doing a new it was a breakthrough research, or sorry, breakthrough treatment, that was sponsored by the Lions Rugby charity, and it's extended his life, and he's a better life because of it. Kind of goes, we do organize events and it's competitive and we talk about winning and losing. And sometimes you be worried about your times or trying to beat this fella and that fella. But for a lot of the stuff that we do, especially the charity cycles and the events that they make a difference to people by raising money and really just giving people an opportunity to get out there and get fit and to enjoy the place.
Yeah, absolutely, Ali. I mean, it is great, and it's a feel good factor for everyone involved. I think for
Mm,
the participants, the organizers, the photographers out in the course, everything. For those type of events, you can really feel that kind of a buzz around. So it
mm.
is really nice. But I'm gonna pin you to the collar now, and I'm gonna ask you on a personal level. I know you've done the gravel race. I followed yourself and Cian over in Scotland there a couple of years ago. I know you kind of go off, you've been to the UK. I know Keen's been over a couple of times. racing yourself, is there any particular race over your that springs to mind to you on a personal level from an individual racing? So you racing as a racer, is there anything that kind of jumps out at you? Like I was very excited to see you race that gravel race over in Scotland. Um, and I was trying to follow what was happening. How, I suppose, is there a race that you've done that has had a really big high for you?
A kind of a maybe a really big low kind of rather than high. Um, we went over to France maybe 3 years, not last summer, summer before that, and I did a cycle event over there called the Marmot, and it's a kind of a 170K with what you call it, with maybe 4,000 meters of climbing or something ridiculous like that, and all the big climbs like Alpe d'Huez and the Galibier and all those kind of ones, and we were doing it, and I was kind of, people told me it was like no matter what you do, what you call it, just pace yourself because you don't want to go too hard. So I was taking it easy, and next thing I seen the sweeper wagon behind me or the coming along. I was like, oh shit, I better get rolling here. So cycling along anyway, and we got to the bottom of Alpe d'Huez, and I missed the cutoff time for Alpe d'Huez. And I had to get what I call it the bus of shame. So they just throw you into a bus and you actually get the bus up Alpe d'Huez, like the big thing for it, you know. And Sheila and the kids were in at the Wes, the kind of the ski resort up there, you know. And to be honest, I was so disgusted that I missed the cutoff because I could have done it, but it didn't really matter to Sheila and the kids. They were just delighted that I actually did it, and it kind of showed them that you know what, you mightn't have got to the very end of it or won it or anything like that, but you still they could see the work that I was doing with training or putting it in and stuff like that. And that was kind of a highlight to me. Is like even though you didn't actually, I was nowhere near winning it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I was on the bus of shame to finish it up, you know. But that didn't matter to them, and I could have thought me, it was like yeah, it was a low moment, but you know what? It's I got out there and I did it, and I think that's a lot with a lot of the events that people do as well. It's like, there is only 5% of people who are going to be winning it on the podium, Everyone else is out there to kind of to do it, to enjoy it and have their own little challenges and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a low, but it was kind of, it was a high.
yeah.
Kind of a
I totally agree with you. Like Ali, sometimes, you know, and I hate to use the word journey because it's obviously
mm,
used quite a lot. But I think a lot of these races, no matter whether you finish it or, as you say, you get the bus up to the top or you get moved on to the course throughout the course or whatever, I think the main aim, and I think sometimes we forget to take away, is we were there. We
mm,
we 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 got there. We made the effort to get there. We did the training, and I think sometimes that in itself should be a big recognition of, yes, I did it. So I agree. I think sometimes you can come away from those type of things as a low, but they should be a real invitation to kind of go, well, no, I did this.
And it's a good lesson, like, and I said to the kids, and they were like, yeah, you didn't make it, you got the bus at the end, Dad, but you know what? They seen the hard work and that I didn't give up, like, and
Yeah,
that's the lessons for them, and it, like, I'm never going to win a race, like, I'll be plodding away to beat the band. But that doesn't bother me. But and it's probably like 95% of the people that do our events and the Quest events as well. But it is that journey to go on, and yeah, like there's loads of stories over the years of people, doing our events for their own personal challenges and stories, and yeah, it's gas. It was I just remember one event years ago in Killarney, and this guy arrived to the start line, and he was like, yeah, do you have any bike mechanic around? And I was like, yeah, the bike mechanics are over there. And he had a big box, right? So he had a box. I was, where's he going? So he got his bike delivered the day before. And what you call it? And he had to put it together that morning in the INEC in Clarny with our bike mechanic. And he jumped on his bike and he did it. And he said, I train in the gym or whatever. And he was the last person coming in at the end of it. He was in bits. But that person now does all our events and he's be in the top 20 or whatever, like, and it's just kind of,
yeah,
it's gas. You see the journey of people go on over the years because we've been doing this for 15 years now, and
Yeah.
it's gas. It's you see it. That's I do get a lot of enjoyment out of that. That the friends you've made over the years of all the people coming back every year. And you might only see them a couple of times a year when you do your events, but there's a kind of a mutual respect there for everyone. And yeah, it's good. We made a lot of friends over the years.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like a big family, the adventure racing family, I call it, because you can make some really good friends out of it. And for you as the race director, you're seeing the same people coming back every year, which is obviously amazing.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's great.
I suppose just as we look at, challenges as a racer. So how do you challenge the racers or influence the way you design a course and manage the event for quest or elite events? Like, what is in your forethought when you're putting a race together for the racers?
I suppose safety is a big thing. Like that's our main priority, like safety. Like, it's kind of um we love to do races that are like put on a particular cycle trail or a particular running trail that people go on and it'll be up the side of a mountain or they're climbing or whatever. But when you've got lots of people on different levels, I suppose you got to make it accessible to everybody. You got to make it safe. We have to look at it as well in terms of a marshalling perspective, in terms of how many marshals we need to do this and do that. But yeah, it's kind of when we put together we used to do the Quest 12 24 events and Quest 12 in Beara, like, putting them together, we were always like, right, how do we make this really bloody hard? And then people would be kind of going, oh, Ollie, you're a demon, like, you're sadistic, trying to get us through all that. But yeah, and it is to find that level of something that's really hard, and something that then is accessible to everyone because not everyone's superhero athlete, like, and can go to a 12-hour event or whatever, that is something, that's what we try and do. But also we want to kind of show people the area because we go to these areas, whether it be up in Tipperary and Clare for Lochderg, like, for Quest Lochderg. Like, we were never there before we started doing an event there 5 or 6 years ago. And you literally was rocking up on the day, myself and Keen, with a map and going, right, where do we go?
Yeah.
And we literally go on the bikes and go on the trails and have a look around and say, this is a good trail and this is a good one, and where can we have the transition area? And this is a really good hill climb. We want to make this tough, or this isn't hard enough for the experts. We gotta add an extra elevation in this, and it's kind of balancing it. And I do get a good kick out of that. It's kind of it's like a jigsaw, and you're kind of putting together all the pieces of the jigsaw, the transition areas, the start and finish, the different routes. Like there's so much in it, and when it actually comes together, and then people do it and they really enjoy it, it's great.
Yeah.
It really is good.
Um, like, and obviously behind the scenes you have a team, and like when we go to the races or we go to register at the race, we see the same faces. So the team that you have, Ollie, are they're a team that are with you a long time. So to me, it's almost like the team adventure race and stuff. You work hard together, you all know each other very well, and I suppose that's what makes it run so well. When you're going through each of the processes during a race, pre, post, and during.
Yeah, I'm blessed with the team that we have. Like events are tough, like, and events aren't for everybody. In terms of organizing them, like there's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of stress. It was I seen a thing up online one day, and it was like the top five most stressful jobs in the world, and
Yeah.
the first job was like was it a bomb disposal unit, was number one. Number two was a hostage negotiator. Number three was an event manager.
There you go. That says
So that's
this.
the level. That's the level we're at, and
Yeah.
it is. But like with Keen and Sarah and Jeannie and all the other people we've had over the years as well, and because we've been doing this now for 15 years. So like we have a lot of really good people over the years that have helped us and worked for us over the years, and a lot of people come back just for the events, and we have a few full-time employees, with it, and that's our job. But yeah, events are tough. I said they're not for everyone. Some people will be like, I don't know how you do it, Ollie. How you manage this at all? And it's like you kind of get not to get used to it, but it's kind of maybe event people are going to build a small bit differently. And you know yourself, Lorraine, from pulling various bits and pieces of events together. It's tough. It's a lot of. I always say that you could have 1,000 things to do for the event.
Yeah.
1,000 things, and you could get 999 of them right, and then you just get one of them wrong, and the whole thing will fall down. So it's that kind of. Again, but no, we've really good people that work on our team, and really good suppliers that work with us as well, and contractors that do various bits and pieces that have been with us for years, and they know it, and it does make it easier when the guy that supplies the guys our barriers and our bits and pieces, and you're stuck at 11 o'clock at night, and you give him a ring and go, I need a generator, Sean. What's the story? And he comes down with a generator. So it's like, yeah, we've a really good team around us. I'm really am blessed to have them, and they get events as well, and I think they get a kick out of events too, and we wouldn't do it unless we get a kick out of it, and get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing making people enjoy what they do, in terms of or what we put on, people and really enjoying that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of work in the background, Ali, and I suppose when you organize a race, whether it be small, medium, or large, it puts a whole new perspective on, and definitely a big respect to people that put on big events. Like, you know, yeah, it's not easy, and there's a lot of cogs moving when you're doing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
But
sure.
no, it's good. And when it all comes together, it's great. It's very satisfying.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of stepping sideways again, just into race preparation for yourself, Ali, just trying to mix it up throughout the interview here. As a racer yourself, what would normally be your preparation pre-event? Like, are you one of these ones, if you're running a marathon, that you have to kind of nearly do the marathon before you do the marathon? Are you somebody who'll kind of go three-quarters of the way and go, yeah, I know I can do that now, I'm happy enough? What's your food prep like, or do you think about that too much?
Um, I suppose I'm the worst participant in the world. I'd be a race director's nightmare. So like, they always say like, the cobbler's kids have always holes in their shoes. Uh,
Yeah.
I'd be exactly the same. It's like, I should be organized and have everything organized and understand that I'm one of the annoying people that comes up who hasn't registered, who has lost their bib number or whoever. That's exactly who I am when I rock up to an event. Um, but like, yeah, well, it'd be the worst nightmare. But no, I'd like I don't race a huge amount. I'd say I do a couple of events a year. I kind of build up to those. And sometimes building up to them, I just don't get time to train or don't get time to prepare properly. And I wing it a lot of the time. Let's be honest with you. And it is, and I think doing endurance events as well. Um, 80% of it a lot of the time is thickness and stubbornness and just, having the willpower just to kind of drive on through it. Having the general level of fitness that you need for it, but also, just that stubbornness and thickness just to drive on through it. And that's what I rely on most of the time, to be honest with you, rather than
Yeah.
a structure. Following structured training plans, all that kind of stuff. Like, there's probably people a lot more qualified and serious at doing endurance sports events than me that will be able to give a lot more help in that manner. I'd be probably the opposite. I said I wing it a lot of the times. But at the same time, you kind of learn a lot over the years as well in terms of
Yeah.
preparing for an event. And I know I have to get my nutrition right and my hydration right and what to bring and what to use. And because I see a lot of people at the events, and I'm like, oh Jesus, do you remember one of the first events we did, and this guy had a quest events, and in the mandatory kit was yeah, make sure to bring a pump, but he bought a track pump and he had it in the back of his bag. I was like, that's a bit of a long day for the old track pump there. So yeah, I wouldn't be that bad, but yeah, I'd be the I wouldn't be a great person to get a load of tips from because The lads will tell you now that yeah, kind of rocking up and seeing how I get on is my preparation, you know.
And sure, how bad? How bad? It's worked for you. So,
Yeah.
how bad? Um, just I suppose when you look at your events and experienced racers that are out there, when you're looking at races and trying to balance the organization of the race and the competitors element, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but in terms of the participants experience, the race format that you're putting in obviously is normally from an adventure race or a multi-sport racing, you're kind of looking at having different sports in there. With the majority of the quest races, you're kind of looking at a bike, hike, or trail run, and a kayak. When you're looking at formatting the race, what what are you thinking about when you're looking at the kayak? Are you kind of thinking um, in the race, does the terrain kind of dictate where you place that in the race? Are you always trying to maybe look at putting it at the end, especially if it's a nearly winter time race and stuff like that? How do things like that balance out as a race director? What are you thinking about when you're trying to put that race together?
I suppose each location kind of adds its own it's got its own topography, it's got its own features in terms of the mountains over here, the lakes over here. You know, you can't move any of those, you know. So you kind of you kind of work around that then. So you kind of look at it and go, right, if we need to kayak over there and our transition areas here, you know, and our mountains are over there that we're running, our cycles are over there. Again, it is literally a jigsaw and it's kind of make it work. But we look at, say, for kayaking, for example, we look at the lake and you know, to be perfect place to kayak on the lake there, but there's no access to it to get the articulated lorry down for the kayaks, you know.
Yeah,
Um, you know, you'd have to drag the kayaks, drag 100 kayaks down and handball them down 500 meters to get them all in and out and stuff like that. So it's we look at that from a logistical perspective as well, and it's like, yeah, it's a really nice place to kayak, but there's nowhere to put the bikes, you know.
yeah,
There's nowhere to put the bikes. So then again, it goes back to the jigsaw again in terms of finding these little pieces. Like some routes we look at and we're like, oh, I'd love to be able to go up there, or that's a class cycle there, or you know, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't fit into that jigsaw, you know.
yeah. Yeah, and I suppose that you can only work with what you have, like I suppose
Mm,
realistically.
yeah.
Like one of the biggest things I suppose being down in Loughdorg was brilliant again this year, and just popping down. It was kind of weird not seeing the pontoon bridge going
Yeah,
across,
the bridge. Yeah.
um, which obviously must have made your life a little bit easier because with the bridge now being pedestrian, with the new bridge after being built between Ballina and Killaloe, at least you were able to run everyone through that. So logistically, Loughdorg must have been a nicer event to rock up to this year.
Yeah, it was, and but the pontoon was special. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's the longest temporary pontoon bridge ever built in Ireland. The first time a bridge was built in across the Shannon since Brian Brew or something. One of the
yeah,
lads told me down in Latter, and all these good things, you know, and it but like to build that bridge was huge, like, you know. Like the lads start loading the vans or sorry, the trucks for that bridge on the Monday before the event. So they load them all up on the Monday, they drive down, sorry, load them on Monday, drive down on the Monday, start setting it up on the Tuesday. So they set it up about a kilometer down the river and they spent 4 days literally building the bridge and then they actually have to tow it up. They have an hour to tow it up, and get it into position on the Friday, and then it's a 3 or 4 day activity to actually take it down and put it apart again and drive it back home again. Now we've a really good supplier that does it for us, but it's huge. It's like it's funny. One of the things with that bridge, like you just don't think of stuff with the bridge. So down about 5 miles down the road from Killaloe Ballina there is the power generation site, the Ardna Crusher, you know.
Yeah.
And what Ardent Crusher does is there's three turbines and it sucks the water in to spin the turbine to create the create energy, you know. And basically, if they have all three turbines turned on and they're generating electricity, the flow of water is too much to get the bridge into position. So as it on the NAS, this is what it is. It was like the first so we ring Aaron the Crusher and we say, yeah, look, are you turning the three turbines on this weekend? And they'll say, right, is there much wind this weekend? Because if there's no wind, then there's no wind farms turning, so the national grid will have a low energy, so we'll have to get more hydro energy going. And then he says to me, he says, is the Late Late Show on Friday night? And I was like, what? Late Late Show? What has that got to do with turbines and power? And he's like, yeah, if the Late Late Show is on Friday night, we have to turn all three turbines on because everybody at 9:30 puts the kettle on in Ireland during the Late Late Show and sits down and have a cup of tea. So
No way.
the draw on electricity on a Friday night when the Late Late Show is on is off the charts. So if there's no wind and the Late Late Show is on, then we have to have our three turbines going all week to
Oh
generate
my,
enough electricity to power the cups of teas for Ireland.
oh my.
So and then if the three turbines were on, we wouldn't be able to get our bridge across.
Okay.
And it wouldn't. So there's stuff like that that's just you just don't even dream of thinking about when you're trying to plan it,
Yeah.
with it. But yeah, so not having the bridge in Lough this year was from our side of things was logistically was a lot easier. And but at the same time it was special experience for people going across the pontoon. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. I have to say, I really enjoyed it, Ali. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was a great part of the race. Um, Segueing again, just back into team dynamics, because you've done a couple of ARI team races. And I suppose just given an experience within a team race and what I suppose for you in terms of coming from event, organizing, you're used to team building and obviously making sure that your team runs well. So, how did you bring those attributes across to team adventure racing?
I suppose, you know, being in a team and doing events, as we said before, it's hard. You're on the road for a long time in terms of, we had an event the weekend, we had a L'Etape Tour de France event down in Carrick-on-Shore, and, we put down 3 days of, I'd say, 18, 20 hours each day, and, we don't get much sleep. And you just have to keep plodding along. And that's the kind of stuff that when we do the longer event races that, you just have to just have to go through it, and boys have that stubbornness and thickness as well, just to keep going through it. But it's being part of a team from a work perspective. But it's like, I coach my daughter's football team and my son's football team as well, and it is something that you're trying to teach kids from a very early age about teamwork and how to work in a team, and not everyone gets it, and you find out pretty quickly on a team, whether it be an event race or on a football team or on an events team, that you kind of figure out pretty quickly who's the team player here and who's going to not put it in for the team. I wouldn't say let you down because no one will let you down, but who's gonna put it in, and I think that's it. It's from playing team sports, from working in a team with events and bringing that then to team adventure racing is something that's important. And I suppose stuff like team selection is like anything, who you have on your team, who you want. There's some people you probably know yourself, right? Some people who's like, yeah, that's the person I want on my team because I know they'll go through a wall, and they've serious hard work and commitment that they'll put into it no matter what it is.
Yeah, 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 for sure. I suppose just moving on then, Ollie, just kind of looking at reflecting on the industry as it is right now, for adventure racing, I suppose gravel racing, all that kind of stuff, and potential growth within the industry. So obviously we've seen gravel racing kind of explode a little bit you do a lot from elite events, you do a lot of cycling events as well. And I suppose just looking at that kind of industry for a moment, how do you see that growing? You're talking about doing the Letap races there. Are they still, like, is there growth opportunities here within Ireland at the moment? And how are you finding that?
The last couple of years, being honest, has been difficult for us. In terms of participation, numbers have dropped a lot, both on cycling and on adventure racing events. They've dropped a lot, and it's difficult, but you just have to kind of change and adapt and see what you're offering to participants, to see what they want, you know. So yeah, so like for next year, we're not doing as many Quest events next year as we've done over the last couple of years. So we usually do 4 Quest events. We're probably only going to do 2 next year. And it's just a change in market. It's people aren't people aren't traveling as much to do the events anymore. And our events are all down in the the back of Kerry or whatever, with it. But we can still put on a good event and a good experience for them. Maybe just not as many with it as well. And it is more and more difficult every year to do events, from whether it be the councils or the national parks or various stakeholders and stuff like that. It's just really difficult every year to try and do it. So we just kind of, we know what kind of works and what doesn't work, and we're kind of consolidating a small bit with it. But also looking at some new stuff as well, but one of the big things we find, and it was a challenge for a lot of participation sports out there at the moment, is trying to engage younger people to do our events. All right. So it's like the 25 to 35-year-old now, we find it very hard for to convince them to come do a Quest event.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what it is. It's like it's people are asking the question why. I've no hard data or anything to go by. But I just think younger people are not as inclined to go outside the box, okay, or go outside their comfort zone as much. We have a very, very anecdotal evidence of this now. Usually once a year, we might get a phone call to the office, and it'd be someone's mother ringing about their Johnny or Mary that's doing the event the next day. And the mother asks all the questions, and then she goes, where do we drop them, and where do we bring them, and where do whatever. Does he need a bike, and does he need this, and how does he do that? And there's a lot of thinking involved and a lot of logistics involved. But in the last kind of 2 years, we might get 20 calls a year now from
Okay.
and it's just kind of it's I think younger people are used to going to the gym, so they book in an hour in the gym, their classes, their trainer or wherever they're doing, and they know exactly what they're doing. It's warm, it's dry. They bring a pair of runners, and they can it's all set up for them, and they
Yeah.
leave. Then again, they're good to go. They book in the next day or whatever. But for eventually, there's a bit to it. Like, you have to have a bike, you have to have the gear for the bike, you have to have, is it going to be warm, is it going to be cold, do we need a jacket, do we need a pair of gloves, my
Yeah.
trail runners, I don't want to ruin my new runners. I'm going to get dirty and smelly. How do I bring my bike to the event, and where do I park it? So it just takes a different type of person to do an adventure race. And I find it difficult to get younger people to kind of think like that. But these things come around. They come around in cycles. With it as well, and we do find a lot of people doing the indoor fitness events as well, like IROCs and stuff. Are affecting the younger people are more inclined to do the indoor fitness events than our stuff. But it's a challenge for us, and we have to try to change up our events and see if we can make it more attractive to people, and to drive on with it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we're pretty much the same from the team side of things. It's very hard to get that younger generation up. But I like it was amazing. I was in Kinsale at the weekend, and I was talking to a couple of the lads, their kids and stuff, and they were talking about doing the Gashka and doing a
Mm.
160K hike and stuff like that. And I was there going, yes, that's amazing. You
Brilliant.
know, and I think it's those type of people that have been introduced to it at an early age that will
Mm.
build on it. Um,
Mm.
but I was amazed to see that, because you go up to the moor in 2 day. And you
Mm.
see all these young ones after doing the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, and
Yeah.
they're all out in the mountains. They're having a great time. They're with their peers. They're
Mm.
hopping around the place. And uh, that's what you want to see in an adventure race, because
Yeah.
sure, you know yourself, you get lots of cycling clubs, you get shuttling clubs that do adventure racing. There are groups of people, they're having the crack, they kind of do it together at the start, and then if
Mm.
they get better, they start to string out. So it's amazing. Like, so hopefully we'll eventually get a few more across again.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it is. It's kind of, these things come in cycles. COVID was a big thing to try to get people out, and people could explore the outdoors during COVID because they had the time and they couldn't meet up in gyms or whatever, and we found after COVID, people were more into the outdoors, a certain cohort of people, after COVID, but that's kind of after dropping off now, again. But no, it's a challenge, and look, it's something, it's a cultural thing, and it's hard to try. We're not going to be able to change culture, but we can try, provide an event and an adventure experience that people might enjoy and like.
And we kind of really touched on this, I suppose. Just how do you see the future of race formats evolve, and what innovations do you foresee being implemented by elite events or Quest Island in races? With, I suppose, just tagging on to that, Ali, with this being the last Killarney for now, I'm saying, because you never know. I I did the first Killarney many moons ago.
Mm.
I had an amazing event. It was one of my friends who talked me into doing it, and I was there for many years after. And if I wasn't participating, I still went down for ARI and always enjoyed it. So I suppose, sorry, I'm after kind of sidetracking, but all encompassing that question in terms of how you see the format evolving, if there's any changes, and with this being Killarney's last one, is there a possibility that it could be back in the future, or are you just letting things settle for now?
Yeah, so probably with Clarny, I said it's the first event choice we organised as well. As I said, 14, 15 years ago now at this stage. So, yeah, and like events do have a lifespan. They have a lifespan, and people who do come down, want new adventures. What I found with a lot of people over the years is that, doing one of our event races was nearly like a stepping stone to more longer endurance events, whether it be doing a doing an ultra race, or doing something, a big long multi-day cycle or something, so it's kind of a lot of our events, especially the challenge route or the sport route, it kind of nearly gets them hooked onto it, and then they go on to do, like, Chris, down a bit too easy for them now at this stage, and they go on and want to do something different and different challenges, so it's about trying to get those people hooked again on it. But in terms of how we'll do that over the future, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that, Lorraine, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
It's, as I said, it's more and more difficult. Like, say, for example, we're not kayaking in Quest Loch this year.
yeah,
Because of various environmental issues with the parks and stuff. So we just find it more difficult every year to do what we do. So we just have to find ways around it. And but at the same time, doing smaller events, like, we've never hidden behind the fact that, we do this. It's a commercial business. We organize events commercially. It's how we put food on the table. We never hide away from that. And we'd love to do events like, say, Quest 1224 or Quest 12 and Beara again, but it just doesn't stack up. Like, we have to pay the bills as well, and it's not like, we love the events, we love organizing them, we love the people that do them, and we've so many friends that do them now at this stage as well. But it's from a business perspective, we have to make it stack up as well. And if we wanted to do an event, we'd have some events to do with smaller group of people. We'd have
mhm,
to charge extortionate amounts of money, and we don't want to do that either. With it, so it is just a challenge, and how we're gonna navigate the next couple of years.
yeah. Well, I'm very happy that you had the opportunity to pop on and join us today. Thank you so much for taking the time out, Ollie. I will miss Quest Clarny, but hopefully, maybe watch the space. It might come back in a few years' time. Um, is there anything else, kind of surprise wise? Do you know what the other races are for next year? Is there anything you can share with us right now?
We have Quest Glenloch next year and one
Yeah.
other Quest event in a new location in the northeast of the country. That's all I can say for now, Lorraine.
Okay.
Northeast of the country. So new event there. We have a 3 day gravel festival on in May in Ballyvorney in County Cork. We're planning that at the moment with the hopefully getting Cycle Ireland and Quilcha and stuff on board with that at the moment. So yeah, that's one event. It's 3 day camping, cycling, gravel cycling, bit of fun, bit of crack, beer, pizza, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be on in the Maybank holiday. So put that in your diary. But
I'll
no,
be there.
that's about everything, Rain. But no, Rain, I thank you and all the people at ARI as well. I know it's you do a huge amount of work for adventure race in Ireland and adventure sport of adventure racing as well, and he should be commended for that because being on any committee I'd say is has its struggles, and you're all doing it voluntary as well. So anybody who wants to get involved in adventure racing, first place they should go is ARI. Become a member and get on board with the series and stuff. You do serious work for it as well.
Oh, thanks so much, Ali. Really appreciate that. And again, thanks for your time today, and I look forward to catching up with you.
No problem at all, Lorraine. We'll see you again, and thanks a lot.
Cheers.